I'm Linda Kemp, and I'd like to show you an alternative approach to painting. Let's get started on a painting. I like to show my decal edges when I work on a piece and I float mount the finished painting. So I will tear the edges rather than cut them. So I'll just show you how I do that. First of all, I measure off the dimension that I want and slip the piece of watercolor paper underneath my sheet of plexiglass. Now you want to line up the edge of the paper with the bottom edge of the plexiglass in order to get a nice square line. Lots of pressure on the plexiglass, and we tear the paper against the bottom edge of the plexi. This works particularly well if you're working with a lightweight paper such as 200 pound or 140 or less. On heavier papers you'll need to score it first. I've got my piece of paper ready now with a nice torn decal edge, and I'm going to start an underpainting. An underpainting is the exciting part of this process. It's so much fun and you're just going to love it. This will be a wet and to wet underpainting, and working on the plexiglass like I do eliminates the need for taping or stapling your paper down onto a board. And I don't have to purchase the expensive blocks of paper. I just work on loose paper, wet it on both sides, and then begin painting. Alright, so my paper is thoroughly saturated on both sides. Let's put out some color to begin this. I'm going to do a little painting just to show you how I build up the shapes and work on an underpainting. So I'm laying down some rose violet and some cerulean blue and a little bit of cobalt blue. I'll do a little sample of some berries, much like this illustration. I won't be following the photograph exactly. I'm just making this up and using it as a guideline. So let's get some color on the paper. Now, I like to mix the color fresh without a lot of water. And as you'll notice, I double dip. I scoop out of both of those colors and put it down on the paper. Look at this wonderful burst of color that I get. There's great variety in the color. It's a little wet. Let's just get a bit more thick, juicy color going on. There we go. I'm using a round brush here, a number 10. Let's spatter a little bit with a bristle brush. Same colors, a little flick of color here and there. Break up the surface. And now my favorite brush, which is a 1.5 inch flat Skyflow brush. It's wonderful for applying paint and cutting around shapes. Let's get a little more cerulean on here. You'll probably notice that I use a lot of paint. And as I mentioned, I like to use nice, juicy, wet color rather than working with paint that's old and set up. This is one way of achieving wonderful, vibrant color. Nice big brush strokes. Get the paint on and have some fun with it, using both sides of the brush. Okay, now I need to set this underpainting aside so that it will dry thoroughly before I start building up my shapes.